Hi there, welcome to Terraland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Taurus energy, and we're going to see what could be going on in Taurus's energy and how people in their Taurus energy are choosing to handle it, because we all have our dualistic nature, and we have our more shadowy nature, which can be our fear, our insecurity, our pride, our ego, our more immature nature, self-indulgent nature, codependency, thinking something else is the answer other than love, haven't learned to love ourselves, haven't learned to value ourselves, think if we have indulge in some things of the world that's the answer, that'll make us happy. So people are going to handle this energy differently. Got a lot of cards that aren't showing themselves, which can be that it just makes the story longer. Anyway, the overarching reason for the reading is the Two of Swords, which is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, and that we've all got our dualistic nature. Sometimes some people want to stay in denial of the fact that they kind of have their dualistic nature, like, oh, I can just hide that, I'm a human being that has my shadow nature. Let's just stay in denial of it. But it might pop up from time to time, but let's just stay in denial of it and not deal with it. And then they want other people to stay in denial of the truth that they have this shadow nature, that, these issues that manipulate them that they might not want to deal with. Other people have gotten balance within themselves. They acknowledge they have a shadow nature. They see how their shadow nature kind of can impact their life. And we do have this dualistic nature. Yes, I want these things of the world, but do I also want love and justice and fairness? And some people can't decide. Some people haven't decided yet. Other people decided, I'm going to stay in denial, it's supposed to be about love. Other people decided, I'm going to get balanced, and I'm going to work to maintain balance where I want some of these things of the world, but I also want truth and love and justice and fairness, and to treat other people the way I like to be treated. And so, everybody's going to do what they think will make them happy in the Ten of Cups, what they find emotionally fulfilling. And we've all been at a stage of life where we've been more in denial of the truth, kind of go back and forth, haven't decided what our truth is, because we have this dualistic nature, and one of them is kind of going to be in the driver's seat of our life. Either our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and our shadow nature kind of sits in the back seat, our more immature nature, and we offer love and encouragement to it, to work to maintain balance and go pursue those things of the world, but love is the driving factor in our life. And other people want to stay in denial. They might view themselves as that type of person, but really their shadow nature's in the driver's seat of their life. And it's more their ego or their fear or something else that kind of drives their decision making. But they might not want to see the truth of it. And then there's other people who just can't decide what they want to do. And Taurus energy, besides being their own individuals, in the rest of us, it has to do with our philosophy of life. Do we like to stay in denial of the truth? Do we like to listen to our intuition? Some people reject listening to their intuition. Nope, I did that before. That didn't work out. I'm done. I'm going to live more from my mind than my heart. I don't want to listen to my intuition. And if my intuition tells me I'm being immature, bossy, or controlling, no, not going to listen to it, So there's probably some people that we're not in relationship with anymore, and they're not in relationship with us anymore, because we harness these energies differently, and what we thought was just and fair was different. Some people, when those things didn't work out the way they wanted, everybody can feel a little stuck. But the high vibe people kind of were willing to accept that, I'm not always going to be on the same page as people, and, what I want to invest my time energy into, and what I think is just and fair, and what they want to invest their time energy into, and what they think is just and fair. Not everybody is on the same page as us at the same time. And then we have all these different age groups and all these different, things that everybody's we have to kind of go with the flow, is the advice. I think it's a major arcana card of go with the flow, and then the temperance card and the hangman, they're all major arcana. Go with the flow, balance out your emotions is what the temperance card can talk about. And then, the hangman, to try to see things from other people's perspectives, and everybody else is where they're at. They view life the way they view it. They're trying to get balance within themselves, and they're going to take action to go pursue the things that they think will maybe make them feel more balanced within themselves. And sometimes we go off in the wrong direction and we don't realize that. And then later we might feel stuck, and then we might kind of look at life differently, because it's like, I thought that was the answer. I thought that was the right direction. And if people, you have to get out of your ego, and the hangman in shadowy energy can talk about ego. Am I willing to look at life a little differently? Am I willing to admit that maybe I don't know everything, and maybe I didn't listen to my intuition, and maybe I was more repeating a past pattern, or wasn't ready to look at life differently? Are we willing to get out of our ego to maybe look at life a little differently than we had been? And some people aren't. And they keep repeating an old pattern over and over and over. And these are two cards that can talk about feeling stuck. Well, shit, that didn't work. I thought that was going to make me happy. And in a lot of ways, it could have made me happy. But for some reason, I still feel stuck. Well, are you willing to look at the truth of why you feel stuck? What have you been investing your time, energy, and effort into? What is it? What's your truth? What do you value? What about the type of people you're getting in a relationship with? What drives and motivates them? What do they value? Shadowy energy can be where we want to get in relationships with people, but we don't want to see the truth that they do look at life differently than us. That kind of what drives and motivates them, their truth, kind of in their Taurus energy, is different. But we can always want other people. Well, you should look at life differently. Well, why should they have to look at life differently? Why don't you quit getting in relationships with people who view life differently and quit trying to get them to look at life differently? But sometimes we can be attracted to certain type of people. Well, why are we attracted to certain type of people? And some people it's kind of it's the reason why you can be drawn and attracted to some people, because, they can be seeming to be very patient, encouraging, balanced. Pisces is emotional water sign energy. So in a way, they can seem to be loving, and you get in relationships with them, but they might like trying to be in relationships with people where the other people have to change, but they shouldn't have to change. So that's where they can be in denial, that they're a little prideful and egotistical. I want to get in relationships with other people to get them to kind of maybe look at life a little differently than they look at it. I could get in a relationship with someone, and I can already tell that they look at life differently than I look at life. Why am I not willing to deal with the truth of that? Oh, well, let's go look at what those cards are and what they can be talking about. The King of Cups, the Hierophant, and the Magician. Okay, 3 major arcana. Sometimes some people who are a little more stubborn or prideful do view themselves as these loving people, these upstanding citizens, that people should want to work together with them because they have a certain status or image, and your dreams could come into reality with them. But they're kind of in denial that they're more driven by their ego. And that I might have this certain status or image, or I might act a certain way or look a certain way. And because of those things, I think people should want to be in a relationship. The problem is, it's kind of more of a false mask that they wear, that they might not see the truth of. We can act loving, we can act like a pillar of society, we can act like we're these upstanding citizens who kind of walk the talk. I'm not prideful, I'm not egotistical, I'm not selfish, I'm not controlling, I'm not manipulative, I'm not more about myself. But they do have a way of viewing life that can be more inspired by repeating a pattern of the past. Like, I don't take creative, inspired action in my own life to take the lessons I've learned from all the different people in my life that I could have grown up with, in my community, whatever, you know, to really kind of listen to my own intuition and believe in myself and my dreams, to really listen to love and intuition to guide me to create my own life authentically. And so they're still kind of caught up in, well, no, if you act a certain way and you look a certain way and behave a certain way and you attend these kind of activities and not these kind of activities and blah, 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 people will view you a certain way and people will want to be in a relationship with you. But it could be more inspired by this worldly, more egoic view of life. Well, I seem like a decent, upstanding, present myself as loving. You should get in a relationship with me and you should stay in a relationship with me because it looks just and fair and balanced and loving and it looks like we have it all. But they're just not inspired to really let love and intuition guide them so that you really can create your own unique life. But they cannot see that. Or they don't want to see the truth that they have this way of viewing life, which isn't about, the Two of Swords can be about staying in denial of the truth, that it is about kind of living your more authentic truth. And they might have grown up with people who are like, nope, you don't live your more authentic life. High vibe hangman would be kind of seeing through the illusion of the world, seeing through the illusion of your fears and your insecurities, because high vibe energy, kind of represented by God at the big picture, wants us to give birth to new things. Learn lessons from life. See what works, see what doesn't work. You've been given your own unique talent, skills, and interests, and your own intuitive nature. And if we're going to give birth to something new, we can have liked what went on in the past, just like we all like being maybe 18. Are we going to stay 18 all our life? No. And we might have grown up with people that we love, and those people were living their life based on their truth. But our truth is different than other people's truth. And what we find emotionally fulfilling and what they like and find emotionally fulfilling, and their idea, Pisces can talk about our dreams, their idea of the dream life maybe isn't our idea of the dream life. But some people, they have fear of being high vibe energies, being more independent, to listen to their own intuition about what would make them happy, and being more independent of the past to live their more authentic truth, to live their more authentic life. And it's like, no, we should just do this. This worked out. And that's how I can view shadowy Taurus energy, is like following a template. Well, this is what those people did, so that's what we should do. And it worked out. I was happy. I like that. But it's kind of like not adding their own spark to it. It is like taking an old playbook. Well, my folks did this, and my dad did that, and my mom did this, and if my mom said this, my dad did that, and my dad said this, my mom did that, and they thought this was right and wrong and valuable and important. Well, they also grew up in a different era, and some of the things that we have available to go as activities and things that we might like to go enjoy, those things didn't even exist. So then it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I should go do that. Would they have done that? And I don't know. You can also see where that's like really kind of codependent energy, where people aren't very independent, where it's like, oh my gosh, and what would they think? And what would, it's like, oh my gosh, how about you just go live your authentic life? But anyway, some people don't want to see the truth. And so they can get in relationships with people who harness this energy differently. They can get in relationships with people who harness this energy very high vibrationally. They're motivated and inspired by love. They are more authentic. They are who they say they are. They are inspired by truth and love in high vibe Taurus energy. They, again, in Gemini Virgo energy, they're motivated and inspired by love. And some of these people who can't decide what they want, they get in relationships with people who are like that. They might kind of be in denial that they have a certain way of viewing life, that they like to stay within their comfort zone in a way. And the other people that are more high vibrational, kind of go with the flow. And periodically they work through their fears and their insecurities and their self-limiting beliefs, and they're ready to move forward in life a little differently, to go to the next phase of life. And then these people who are like, oh no, that's like out of my comfort zone, I want to keep doing this. Well, then they might have some of those people leave their life. Well, they're not sure if they are inspired to listen to their intuition and love to guide them. So then they can go get in a relationship with someone who they might think harnesses these energies a little bit more like they do, which the kings can be male or female. It's how people are presenting themselves in the world. But in shadow, it can be that people are operating a little bit more from their worldly egoic nature, presenting themselves as, loving people, again, that people should want to be in relationship with, but a little bit more also defensive of maybe being more inspired by love. And they also might have a problem seeing the truth of that within themselves. And so they might get in a relationship with someone who's like that, and by worldly standards, it looks great, and time goes by. And if either one kind of works through some of their issues, or, anybody that we're in a relationship with, we could have learned some more lessons than they've learned. We might have tempered our ego in certain areas, not have some of the same fears as other people, maybe not be as stubborn or as bossy or controlling or whatever. Anybody that we get in a relationship with, are we willing to, again, kind of listen to our intuition and try to see things from other people's perspectives and get out of our ego to kind of work together with people more cooperatively? Well, then if they get in a, again, they can get in a relationship with someone where it's like, well, no, I don't have to change. I think these other people should change. And if I get in a relationship with people who do maybe change, but then they start to look at life differently and they want to move forward in life differently, well, then they want me to change and I don't want to change. So then they try to go get in a relationship maybe with someone who they think views life more like they view it, who maybe is more kind of hiding the fact that they might kind of be a little more stuck or kind of caught up a little bit more in the world and the ego and the image and codependency or whatever. So then they go to get in a relationship with someone who's like that. But in any relationship, generally we're not, well, we can be kind of on the same page for quite a long time. But what if we get in a relationship with someone, as some people have, where neither one of them really wants to be more authentic and loving, and maybe get in a relationship because other people have left their life because they didn't want to be more authentic and loving, Well, you might be in a relationship with someone who you could be attracted to, but you could feel kind of stuck in the relationship. If everybody's kind of wearing a false mask, you could feel like people are using their emotions manipulatively, using their sexuality manipulatively, using their status, their image, their social clout, their money, and all these things to try to keep people like stuck in a relationship with them. But neither one is willing to take more creative, inspired action from love. And I suppose there could be some people who decided, I don't want the Hierophant can represent being in a more formal commitment. I don't want to be in a more formal commitment. Okay, well, the people who did probably left their life. And then the people who are willing to stay in a relationship with them could be being patient, but eventually they might kind of feel stuck because you can kind of feel like if someone, say the relationship just doesn't keep kind of growing and it kind of keeps seeming to be the same old thing over and over and over, um, you can both feel stuck in it, and then they could start to feel stuck in it. I don't know. I guess if that's how they want to live their life, some people are doing that. Nope. The whole big thing in my life is I don't want to do love and I don't want to do a more formal commitment. Well, those people are maybe in a relationship with someone else who views life that way. They could be happy. They found someone who's on the same page as them. Other people who are in relationship with them could have felt, you know, I don't understand, if we love each other, why aren't we kind of more willing to, I don't know, why can we not work together maybe more cooperatively and kind of expand our perception? I'm not like everyone else you've went out with or known in your life. Um, and if I feel like you can't decide, well, what is there to decide? Don't you either love someone or you don't love someone? And I don't know, some people could end up feeling stuck. Let's go see what the rest of these cards are. The Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords. Well, the Knight of Pentacles can be investing in a dream. And if people are on the same page where I don't want to get in a more formal commitment, that's not my truth, that's not my dream. I want to be in a relationship, maybe enjoy the relationship. I mean, there can be people in the world that, and if both people come to agreement on it, that I think there's some shadowy traits and characteristics about why people could get in relationships and maybe feeling like maybe they've seen too many people who get in more formal commitment relationships, and then some people can feel like because they kind of got someone trapped in a relationship, um, that then those people could kind of invest in being a little more harsh or cold or defensive or bossy or controlling or egotistical or something, and so they don't trust that. Well, if people are on the same page as that, and it could be a different way of looking at commitment and relationship, that again, if we love each other and if we are working cooperatively together and we are being just and fair and we are working together from a place of love, why don't we keep moving forward in that relationship? And if people have people in their life where they view life that way and they're willing to do life that way, those people could be happy doing life that way, because, but it might be a little bit more out of, fear, um, because of some issues that they've experienced in their life. And some people, though, just might create the illusion that's why, You know, I don't know what I think about. I kind of think that if I know I'm being truthful and honest and authentic, and I'm in a relationship with someone who I think is being truthful and honest and authentic, I would kind of like a commitment. And there can be some people that feel like I do, and there's other people who are like, nope, that's not my idea of the dream life. That's not how I want to move forward. So, other people who feel that way have probably gotten out of relationships with people who either don't want to get in a more formal commitment, or the people you did get in a more formal commitment, they did act in these shadowy ways, and you kind of became illuminated to the truth that maybe they either weren't who they said they were, or they kind of got off path, and you realized they weren't aligned with your same truth. So you could have gotten out of relationships with those people. But irregardless, I don't think high vibe people didn't give up on their dreams. They, because sometimes when people are shadowy in a relationship, you did get yourself in a more mismatched relationship and you didn't realize it at the time. Two of Swords is not seeing the truth. And so that's what these cards can mean when they're not showing themselves also, is that you don't realize you harness these energies differently, and how you view life, how you view relationships, what your long-term goal is, why you get in relationships, why you think people should stay in relationships is different. And some of you got in relationships with people who you thought they had hope and faith and belief and love, but then as time went by, you kind of realized that they were either more about themselves or the status or the ego or the image or the indulgence of it, but had a problem about getting out of their defensive nature to really more authentically do love. And then you felt stuck in a relationship, and some people could feel that way right now as they're kind of seeing the truth of it. And the shadowy more people are counting on the fact that because by worldly standards this looks really good, even if they are kind of more superficial and shallow, even if they are kind of more stubborn, even if they are kind of more manipulative or egotistical or more about themselves, because we can all be tempted in our worldly nature and we want these things of the world, and you could certainly have love for them, but they want you to keep moving forward, kind of staying stuck, and like you don't really have your dream come into reality. But by worldly standards, it looks like you have everything you could want. And they're hoping you won't love and believe in yourself enough that it's like shadowy Pisces can be where it's the illusion of love. And some people are like, I'm not willing to stay in a relationship that has the illusion of love. You might act loving, you might enjoy the relationship, but that's where you can feel like someone is kind of more sexually indulging themselves in the relationship. So people who have yet to learn the difference between sex and love, and people who still might be more caught up in themselves or these ways of viewing life or these things that drive and motivate them. And it's like those things of the world or the status or the ego or the image aren't as important to me as they maybe are important to you. And I'm not willing to stay in a relationship for those reasons. I have a dream, and I'm not going to give up my dream. And some of the people in your life who thought if they got, and they still are, and probably doing it with someone else, if I can just get that person to get in a relationship with me, then even if they do become enlightened to the truth later that I'm still in two minds, maybe about doing love, but I act loving to you, and when we're out in the world and we have this thing and the status and the ego and the image, I don't think you'd be willing to give those things up to believe in yourself and believe in your dreams when this looks like you have everything except feeling a little stuck because it's that spark of having hope and faith and belief and love that helps us keep moving forward in our life, keeps us growing and maturing ourselves. And sometimes you can get in a relationship or friendship with people and you work through everything else, and then it does get down to that core foundational truth because one person is kind of ready to move forward and step out of their comfort zone. And the tens can talk about completing a cycle and coming out with the one pentacle. It's like, I'm ready to detach from some of these. I've kind of looked at what are the good building blocks to take with and which are some of the things to go. And I've worked through some of the issues within myself, some of my past pain, heartbreak, some of my defensiveness, whatever. And I've worked through those things. I've kind of dealt with the truth of them. I look at life differently. I'm ready to go to that next phase of life, which is kind of what we had to do. And we went from being more like an 18-year-old to being a 21-year-old to being a 25-year-old. I had to detach from some of those more immature ways of being that stopped me, kept me stuck from moving forward in my life a little differently and believing in myself and believing in my dreams. Aquarius energy also, like Pisces, can be about your dreams that you have. And sometimes you can be in a relationship with people for a long time, and that's when you kind of find out that they're not inspired to do life any differently. They might feel stuck also, but I'm not letting go of anything. It maybe makes me feel stable and secure and balanced within myself. And to step outside my comfort zone, I do have to kind of expand my perception of myself and the world around me and what I believe is possible, and maybe see things from a little different perspective. Both the Hangman and Aquarius can talk about looking at life from a different perspective, and you also have to be willing to see the truth maybe of some things that make you defensive to loving and believing in yourself and stepping out of your comfort zone and being more independent and living your more authentic truth. And some people are like, nope, that's too scary. That's unknown territory. I would have to listen to love and intuition to guide me. Nope, I don't want to do that. Let's do this. Let's stay here and do this. And that can be when a relationship ends. And some people could be going through it right now. And the other people are like, I can't keep doing this. And I think high vibe people have offered love and been patient and truth and love and encouragement to the people in their life. But we can't make people work through their fears, their insecurities, their codependency, their ego, their defensive nature. We can't make them face their fears. We can't make them look at life from a higher perspective. We can't make them have more hope and faith and belief in themselves or in their dreams or make them heal. They have to do this work within themselves to work through those issues. And the Knight of Pentacles and Virgo energy talks about doing this inner work within ourselves about past pain, heartbreak, how we could have felt betrayed in the past, how that still impacts us, or quit investing in this more worldly dream and focus in life and maybe think there's more than just us or looking like a shining star in the world. And for some people that's very difficult because it's like, I might want to go do that, but I really love the world and I love the status and the image and the ego, and not having to do this inner work to heal and grow and mature myself. And some of them are like, you know what, you can go. And I think I can find someone else who wants to do this with me, who I think maybe won't ever want to look at life any differently. And maybe doesn't want to be more independent from the world or from a more egoic worldly view of life, or if they're codependent on people in their life, which they might not show people, whether that's a friend group or a family group. Well, I'm more codependent on those people, and those people, if they don't move forward, I'm not going to move forward. And maybe I'll find someone else who is willing to basically let those things or those people or these ways of being within me, manipulate them too. And we'll all keep moving forward, kind of hiding that we are more about the worldly dream, or we're more defensive to having hope and faith and belief and love. And I'll go find someone else who's kind of defensive or prideful or stuck or doesn't know the truth of who I am. And I'll try this over with someone else. And I'll try to get that person to move forward with me in a relationship, kind of being defensive to change. I have a way of living life. This is how I want to do it, like forever. I don't ever want to look at life any differently. This makes me happy. Well, they just need to find someone else who agrees with that viewpoint. And if they think they have someone who agrees with them in that viewpoint, they might be thinking of making that person an offer to move forward in the relationship together because they both view life the same way. Or that person just hasn't figured out the truth of them yet, and they hope that at some future point, if they do figure out the truth, that it's really not love that drives and motivates them, then that person at some future date will have to make their decision of what they're going to do. But some people have already been in relationships with people who weren't who they said they were. The Hierophant can represent all these different institutions of the world, workplaces, friendships, romantic relationships, and they already saw the truth that your truth is different than my truth. I think you might be a little more stubborn, or you might like to be a little more indulged in a relationship. Something. Anyway, they moved on from those people, and they're balancing out their emotions about the fact that they're going to have this new beginning, and they are having to listen to their intuition and love to guide them. And as they're moving forward, there's all these other people in the world who, might want to get to know you and that you're getting to know. And everybody's trying to figure out what other people's truth is about what drives and motivates them. The shadowy people are trying to figure out if you're more tempted by these things of the world and your ego and your image. And if you are, they would think of maybe making an offer to you. If they get to know you and realize that's not your truth, yeah, no, they don't want to be in a relationship with you. Because shadowy Taurus relationship is where it is either more transactional, or whoever has more of those things of the world, that the other person should indulge that person for those things of the world that they have. And if they think they have those things of the world, if they don't think you would kind of indulge them in their more egoic nature, well, then they don't want to be in a relationship with you. You've kind of seen through the illusion of people like that and realize that's not your idea of the dream life. That might be theirs, but they need to go find someone else. And because of that, some of those people could feel a little stuck because some of those people would love to be in a relationship with you. But they would have to get out of their ego and grow up and mature themselves. Have some hope and faith and belief in love. Some of those people could be working through it right now. Others of them are like, no, that's not my truth. And there's other people in the world who could view you as someone that they also have gotten out of relationships with people who are like that. They're also listening to their intuition. And some of those people could be thinking about communicating their truth to you, and they have to kind of just get over their maybe fear of communicating their truth, just to get to know you a little bit more. High vibe people, I think in general, communicate their truth because they're not operating from their ego to people in their life. These are the lessons I've learned. I might have looked at life at one way at one time, because I think for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty caught up and fired up about these things of the world. And now I've kind of looked at life differently, and all these things I made my life about or I indulged in or whatever that I thought was going to make me happy, and I ended up feeling stuck. It had all those things that the world told me I should want, but it wasn't more inspired by truth and love, and that is my truth. And I've been enlightened to the truth. I'm going to communicate my truth to people. Whoever wants to move forward with me can move forward with me in that way. And then it's kind of being patient to let other people work through their own issues. But then there comes a time where, you know, if other people are manipulated by things that keep them stuck, just by the fact that you love them keeps you stuck. And it's like, no, I'm not going to keep staying stuck. Either people are willing to invest in the pentacle, can be about bringing something into the 3D world. And it's like, if people aren't investing in this dream with me, then I assume that's not their dream. And what people can see, some people could view you as being stuck, but what they don't know, but they also could see that you seem to be inspired to listen to your intuition and love to guide you, and that you seem to kind of look at things differently than you did before. If you had some people in your life that were trying to manipulate you, like, I want to be in a relationship with you, and I could have been in a relationship with you, but I don't want to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature. I'm not then going to keep investing in you, and I think you'll feel stuck, and maybe you'll come back and want to do the relationship the way I want to do it. But they see that you keep moving forward and that you seem to kind of look at life differently than you did before, and you seem to be moving forward and going with the flow, and kind of like their manipulation isn't working. And they don't understand how you're doing this, because shadowy energy, it can all be about trying to create this illusion about who you are and how wonderful your life is and blah, 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 and operating more out of pride and ego. And they could see that you don't seem to be doing that, and you seem to be happy. And they don't understand it. Well, what they don't understand is that you harness high vibe Cancer, Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, and Aquarius, and they might harness those energies in a more shadowy way. You offer people truth and love. You try to see things from their perspective. You are patient, understanding, but eventually it's like, this is not my idea of the dream life. If this is your idea of the dream life, I wish you peace, but I am moving on. And they could think you're just trying to manipulate them to do things the way you want them to do it, because that's kind of a shadowy Taurus relationship, that thinking people are just trying to manipulate other people to get them to do what they want. But you actually are operating from a foundation of love. And you're offering love to your own worldly nature, and in your free will, choosing to invest in truth and love, to love yourself, believe in yourself, know your worth and value, believe in yourself, believe in your dreams. Keep looking at life from a higher perspective. Keep listening to love and intuition to guide you. And that you are investing in your dream and your truth. And you're keeping things in perspective, looking at life from the bigger picture, instead of like getting all caught up in your head and your fear and your insecurity or your ego or your image and stuff like that. They might think you look like you're standing still in a way, because the Knight of Pentacles can also reference that, like you're stuck. But what they don't know is you're doing all this work within yourself to get out of feeling betrayed and expand your perception of yourself and the world around you and what is you believe is possible, to let go of that old dream, because every day you're taking action in your truth and every day they're taking action in their truth is showing that you do have different ways of viewing life and what you want to invest your time, energy, and effort into, and what your idea of the dream life is. And you've already done it their way and you didn't care for it. So it's kind of realizing that my dream couldn't come into reality with them anyway, because they don't harness these energies. In their Cancer energy, they're not more motivated by love. In their Taurus energy, in their Gemini and Virgo energy, in their free will, they're more in love with the world, in love with themselves, like hiding behind their ego nature and defensive nature. Something. Other people, or, not everybody's awful, just other people are in different relationships, whatever it is. But you realize that your dream is different than their dream. And you work through it so that you can move forward and close out a cycle to go have a new beginning. People that are kind of in more shadowy energy can get really stuck on people that they wanted to be in a relationship with that don't want to be in a relationship with them, but they might not want to see the truth of it. Again, sometimes people did just create an illusion and got in relationships with people to indulge themselves in it because they felt stuck. It was good for their ego or their image, but really that's not their truth. Or if they got in it and then they found out, well, you would want me to grow and mature myself. I don't want to grow and mature myself any. I like to be in relationships where other people have to change, not me. Or I thought it was going to be more about me. Or I thought I could be more shadowy or bossy or controlling, and you don't let me do that. You won't put up with it. Well, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. Or I am more about me, or I am more materialistic. But some of the other people don't want to see the truth. you know, some people, if they're more shadowy and they kind of indulge themselves in their more immature, prideful, immature ways of being, they think other people should, and they can't understand why other people won't. If they seem to have a certain status or image in the world, they think people should stay in a relationship with them for those reasons, and they don't understand why those people won't. Some of these people never want to heal and grow and mature themselves, and other people in the world do. And they don't understand that because they have a very maybe fixed or stubborn way of viewing life that they think is like the ideal life. It's kind of like people getting trapped in a time warp. Like, well, I like the 1960s. I think we should live our life like the 1960s. And other people are like, we're in the year 2020, whatever now. And they're like, yeah, but I like that way. Well, then you just need to find someone who views life that way and wants to live their life that way. Other people kind of learn lessons in life and face their fears, and they keep kind of growing and healing and maturing and believing in themselves and like growing to their full potential. And some people are like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to keep doing this. It's like, well, then find someone who wants to do that. Some of you already got out of some job, friendship, and relationship and could have a new beginning, and you're moving forward with that. And other people could realize, oh shit, they keep moving forward and investing in new friendships or new job or new relationship. And now some of those people could be start to get illuminated to the truth that, yeah, you're not coming back to get in a relationship with them. When we're in a relationship with people, we have the free will to be truthful and honest and authentic, to work together with people cooperatively. Or we can think, I know, I have an idea. I'm going to try to act in these shadowy ways of being. And that's a risk that people take. I don't think they'll love and believe in themselves. I think they'll come back. And some of those people are starting to get the clue that some of the people they thought were going to feel stuck or feel betrayed or whatever because they go about it in shadowy ways. Hurtful, unkind. Look, I got in a different relationship. Aren't you upset? Aren't you going to come talk to me? And it's like, you're in a different relationship. I'd assume if you're in that relationship, it's because you want to. And plus, do I want to get in a relationship with someone who uses other people as like pawns in their game to try to manipulate me? You are not the type of person I thought you were if you just try to use other people to try to manipulate other people to feel hurt and betrayed, to try to get them to do the relationship the way you want. You know what? I'll let that person figure out what kind of person you are. I've already seen the truth of who you are, and I'm moving on. So, what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Taurus energy, who have been illuminated to the truth, have offered truth and love to people in their life, and those people, some of the people in their life, are like, nope, I refuse to look at life any differently. What's coming up for them that they don't see? The Two of Swords. Why? Well, this is saying you listen to your intuition. And because you listen to your intuition about what you think is just and fair, and some other people tried to confuse you about the truth about what was just and fair, you listen to your intuition. And because of that, it helped you see things more clearly. You got out of being stuck. You did this work within yourself. People who are loving act with love. People who do act with character and integrity act with character and integrity. People who want to work together with me cooperatively from love work together with me cooperatively from love. And the people who don't, that's not their truth. And it helps you detach from harnessing these energies in a more worldly way. And when you detach from harnessing them in a more worldly way, you're able to detach from those people who wanted you to harness these in a more worldly way, because to some degree within themselves they do, and then you'd be on the same page. And that's what some people don't know about you. You're not the same person you were before. You have been enlightened to the truth. You did this inner work within yourself to look at life differently. And what they don't know about you is you now harness these energies in a more high vibrational way. What are they? The Seven of Swords and the Emperor. So the Seven of Swords, like the Queen of Swords, is Aquarius energy, where you kind of were maybe more caught up in the world, weren't seeing the truth about people, caught up in the illusion of people. Maybe in your own emperor energy, thought, you were motivated and inspired by these things of the world that you wanted to manifest, and maybe that clouded your judgment and you didn't listen to your intuition about some of the people in your life. You were caught up in the more worldly dream, and you could have thought you could change people. And you realize you can't. And now you don't want to be in relationships with people. It's like accepting the truth of where people are at. Oh, if they're more about this or more like that or more defensive or more whatever, I'm not going to try to change people to view life the way I view life. I'm going to accept they view life that way. If they're defensive, okay, they're more defensive than I am. And if they're defensive to love, I'm not going to try to make them change their mind. If they're more about the ego or the image or themselves, I'm going to let you be more about your ego and your image and yourself or whatever you like to indulge in to make you feel better. And I'm not going to get in a more involved relationship to try to change you. That's kind of like shadowy emperor, where we're kind of think we're the boss and like, oh God, I'll take it over now. I'll change them. I will be a loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging person in the flesh to them. I will be like God in their life, and I am sure they will change, And it's to see the fact that everybody has free will, and God and all these other people in the world and loving and supportive, encouraging people have probably been in their life for them to choose to look at life a little differently than they do. Get out of wearing a false mask, or come out from behind their ego nature, or get out of whatever. And that's not where they're at. So I'm not going to try to change people anymore. I'm going to listen to my intuition. And now, in high vibe, the Seven of Swords is holding on to your dreams and listening to your intuition. And you've learned these lessons in life. And it could have been the Emperor can talk about harnessing all four kings because emotionally you've learned all four lessons in the Queens. And maybe the last one was learning this lesson in the King of Cups. We could have learned lessons in the King of Swords, the King of Pentacles, the King of Wands. But maybe um, yours was love, that it's really hard to detach from people that you have love for. But the Emperor talks about the fact that all four of these elements, our heart, our mind, our worldly nature, our passionate, creative nature, are all equally important. But you could have been someone who you let your more loving nature kind of, because love to you can be the most important thing, but it's to realize that it's not the most important thing in other people's life. And if you love people, but um, they're not being truthful or honest or putting in work and effort or growing or healing and maturing themselves, and you are, then, no longer willing to deceive yourself and listening to your intuition and making a decision and making better decisions in your life than you were before and letting love and intuition guide you. And I think as you do that, other people who went through similar situations see the truth of it. And you could have had to cut an Aquarius and an Aries out of your life, or just people who still are more caught up in trying to change people, caught up in the world, caught up in themselves. And other people in the world have went through similar situations, and other people can see that you're not trying to deceive and manipulate people. You're not wearing a false mask. They know you could probably get in relationships with people for all these other reasons if you wanted to, but you're not getting in relationships with people for those reasons. And I think some of the people in the world become enlightened to who really are more the just and authentic people in the world, and who are the people who try to confuse people about the truth of who they are, try to make themselves seem like that's the type of people they are, but that's not really who they are. It's kind of like not letting your life and your actions speak for themselves, and other people can put in a lot of work to try to get people to view them a certain way, not view other people a certain way. And it's like, how about you just let your life speak for itself? But shadowy people don't want people to see the truth, and so they try to deceive people about the truth. What's coming up for people who harness a shadowy Taurus energy that they might not see coming? The Three of Cups, the Nine of Swords, and the Star, because of the Queen of Wands. Well, they can have people in their life that have been working together with them. Some of those people, wanted a dream to come into reality with them. But they always think they can emotionally manipulate people to get them to do what they want. And they might want to move forward in a relationship with some people, but only if they think those people are stuck, are in fear, are in their ego, that they can emotionally manipulate to move forward with them in a relationship to make them look like a shining star in the world, like they're victorious and successful in some way. And if they have some people in their life who are like that, they might keep moving forward with them. But there's going to be other people in their life who have been trying to encourage them to work through some of their fears and their insecurities, because they could see how these different things manipulate them. And I think some of those people finally have to see the truth that I can want other people to look at life differently. I would like them to avoid some things that I think aren't going to be the best for them. But, we can't make people do that. And I think some people, it's kind of like Judgment Day, where some people in their life, one more time, offer them truth and love to work together with them in a more just and fair and balanced way, to bring a dream into reality. And if those people one more time, what? No, and just don't get it and don't want to see the truth of these things that manipulate them, I think some of those people in their life, and they don't know it, that those people have done this work. This is the last time. And then, they're going to have to go. I'm going to go invest my time, energy, and effort into people who seem to be less in denial, less stubborn, less prideful, less manipulative, who have more hope and faith and belief and love. And I'm going to go invest in those people. And then the shadowy people will be kind of stressed, which I think they're always stressed when they're in relationship with people, when they know that they're either kind of more about themselves or trying to emotionally manipulate people. I think they're always stressed because the one thing they can't control is other people listening to their intuition. And their intuition does have their best interest at heart. These people are wearing a false mask. These people are not who they say they are. And other people work through unlike the shadowy people, the other people do work through their fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs to overcome them, to move forward in life. And they never do. And they might have things and people in their life in addition to their ego or their fear or whatever. Then they have other people in their life that probably encourage them to keep living their life like this, because they do. And that manipulates them. And it's like, well, you go, I'll hang out with these people. And then they just try to balance out their emotions, that they repeated an old pattern, that other people try to get them to love themselves, believe in themselves, work through their fears, work through their defensive nature, their ego nature, to have a little more hope and faith and belief in themselves and in love. And they weren't willing to do it. So then they go hang out with the people in their life who kind of live their life like that. And then they feel stuck, but they keep not wanting to see the truth because they make their life more about having this certain status or image or presenting themselves as these loving family people, but it's really operating more from their ego, and they're not really authentic, and they're more superficial and shallow, and none of them want to maybe see the truth of it, but they could all feel stuck with each other because the more creative, inspired, loving people don't want to keep staying in a relationship with them. And they don't understand why. But I look like this and I act like this and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and it's all like living more from your mind than your heart. It's all just manufactured than being authentically inspired to work together with people cooperatively from love. It's like, well, then I can't control the situation. And I feel like I want to control the situation. And so then it ends up a really, I mentioned this in another reading, if you've ever been in a relationship with people where it all seems like this invisible script. They say something, but just like even the way they're looking at you after they say it, it's like, well, come on. Well, then you're supposed to say this. So you say that, and then they say this, and then you're supposed to say it's like you can't live your authentic life and just like, Because you definitely get the feeling from them that you didn't follow the script. I'm supposed to ask this, you're supposed to say that, then I'm supposed to ask this, and and then you're supposed to go along with the game that they like to play that makes them feel comfortable, but nobody's really being authentic. And other people are like, oh my God, I can't keep doing this. I got to go. You hang out with each other and work through your scripts together that make you feel comfortable. I'm going to go treat people the way I like to be treated, let them be their own human being, treat them with love and respect, offer love and compassion. Hopefully, we can do love, compassion, and forgiveness and accept each other as our own individuals. And we don't have to follow a script, and I don't have to live my life just like you live your life, and you don't have to live your life just like I live my life. But we can be loving and encouraging and supportive people who let other people just be more independent. And for some people, that sounds like a nightmare because they don't know how to be anything more than kind of like more of a robot in the world. So there you go. Taurus, I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.